All right, sports fans, as prefaced, a great double dip of guests on episode 53 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. And again, going for alliteration, the Spicer Speaking Summer Reading Special. Enjoyed that chat rather with Jeff Wallach. When you go by his new novel, Everyone Here is from Somewhere Else, I actually want you to pick up a couple books for your summer reading schedule, the latter of which being the recently released book from our guy, Dale Scott, 33 years in Major League Baseball, part-time Palm Springs resident, ironically, perhaps like Jeff, considers himself a full-time Portland resident. He has just released, and we may have dangled this and I had you on the last time in 2020, Dale. The Umpire is out. And if the book is anything like the title, I assume it's got to be really good. Appreciate
well,
you.
Well, first of all, good to see you, and thank you for having me back. And yes, I hope that the title conveys that everybody's going to say, "Man, I got to read that." That's what I'm hoping, anyway. and when we talked last time, December 2020, I believe you said, I was right in the middle of writing it. I started writing in October of 2020. And then finished the manuscript and got it to the publisher in the middle of May last year. So about almost a year ago. And so here we are.
Some personal, some professional, some groundbreaking stuff to be sure for Dale's personal life. First ever Major League Baseball umpire to come out as gay. I think the only one still to ever do that, as far as I know. Haven't read excerpts and listened to excerpts, which I'm going to tell you a few times. At umpiredalescott.com. You can find the book, but also listen to some readings from Dale. As you'll notice, he's got some background as a DJ, and so he's got a great voice. I enjoyed listening to those excerpts. Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about baseball. We're going to talk about society a little bit, Dale. I want to start with this, man. When I was a kid, I guess I still am in some respects, even at these 46 tender years, but sure. I was a voracious sports book reader. Ron Luciano's The Umpire Strikes Back, I believe the first of 4 books from Ron Luciano. That one, my humble opinion, whether I was a kid or now, was by far the best. That was a wonderfully entertaining book and kind of a seminal sports book in some respects. Is that a book that, as you were putting out, The Umpire is out, putting it together, did you ever reference that book?
I didn't reference it, but I certainly, like you, that was the first book written by a retired umpire that I read. I've read many since then, but Judd, I wasn't going to write a book. I mean, I was as I was working toward the end of my career, and then when I retired, I had a lot of people say, "Hey, you got to write a book. I just wasn't going to do that. I mean, the Ron's book and other umpire books are very entertaining. Dave Phillips' book, Derwood Merrill's book. I'm in a lot of those stories because I worked with those guys. And it's fun to read, and the stories are mostly true, or parts of them. But it's entertaining and it's a lot of fun. But I just didn't want to do that. That really didn't really interest me. But Rob Nyer, who helped me with this book, who happens to live in Portland, which was very convenient. But I had helped him with one of his books a few years before I retired with some background stuff. And so he had gave me a call in 2018 after I was off the field and said, "Let's meet for lunch. I got a copy of this book that you helped me with. I want to give to you." That's great. We're talking. And he said, "Well, when are you going to write your book? Because if you write a book, Dale, I'll be the first one to read it." And I said, I don't really plan on doing that, Rob. And he said, "Well, and I told him, I said, the umpire stories, blah, blah, blah. The guys have done that." And he said, no. I mean, you have the stories, and you have great stories because, 30 plus years on the field, you're going to have stories. But he said, you have a story also that nobody has, and that needs to come out. And the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about the reaction I had in 2014 when I did come out, and so many positive emails and people that said that my story and my journey helped them to take another step out of the closet or toward the closet door, or it really affected them in a positive way. And so after thinking about it, I thought, well, maybe I do need to get this story out. And so we started writing, and I'll tell you what, I enjoyed the process.
Yeah.
I've never written a book, obviously, but I really enjoyed the process. It was a challenge. It was all new to me. I definitely got better from when I started in October and when I finished in May. You could see that my writing was certainly improving, which is a plus. Yeah, so we put it together, and it's out now, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Let's talk a little more about the process of working with Rob Nair. Logistically, how did that go?
Well, we started this thing obviously right in the middle of the pandemic. So we did a lot of, what normally we would do about 3 times a week. We would get on the phone. He would record the conversation, and he'd give me a topic. Hey, let's Thursday, let's talk about the 2001 World Series, or the All-Star game, or whatever. Just and inevitably when I'm talking and sharing stories from whatever topic we're on, he had questions, or it would drift into some other stuff. And that's kind of, he would transcribe everything, send it to me. I would change some stuff. As that was going on with some of the baseball stories, I was writing the chapters, my family growing up, meeting Mike, though, the non-baseball stuff, basically. And a lot of the stuff that I did as far as writing, or a lot of the time was research. Retrosheet.org is a resource that is so valuable for me, and I gave them a plug, and rightfully so. And in the appendix of the book, there's some lists that Retrosheet sent me that I requested. But some of the older books, it's tough to fact check. It's tough to maybe check out some of the stories or whatever, if someone were inclined to do that. Certainly now, in the days of the internet and everything else, I just wanted to make sure I had my names right, my dates right, and I found that some of these stories that I've been telling for decades, really, and they're funny and they're entertaining and la la la, but I was a little bit off. It wasn't that the story wasn't there, but like one time I could have swore it was a story about Tony Phillips, who played for the Tigers.
Sure.
And he was turning over a new leaf, which he didn't. But I could have swore that this whole situation happened with myself and Tim McClelland, which is another umpire. It was actually Tim Welke, and I could have swore it happened the opening series, and it wasn't the opening series. About 3 weeks into the season. Again, not major changes, not certainly something that's going to stain my credibility if I had said it the other way. But I wanted to be accurate. I wanted to make sure that I was spot on in what I was doing. I also, which really helped, is I had kept all of my ejection reports from the minor leagues and all the ejection reports I had in the major leagues up to 2000, where we went electronic. And then I requested, and they sent me, baseball sent me all my ejection reports after 2000. And not so much, I just wanted to refresh my memory on a lot of stuff, and get the names right and all that stuff. And some of the ejections, when I read through them, I had it a little bit different in my head, and then I read it, and and that's what happened. So all that helped to put together everything, which I'm trying, like I said, to be as accurate as I possibly could, and I think I did a pretty good job with that.
Sticking with the baseball aspect of the book first, again referencing The Umpire Strikes Back. I remember some of the most entertaining parts of Ron Luciano's book are his exchanges with Earl Weaver. They had a deep history together, and he ejected him. I don't even know how many times. It was probably into the dozens over the course of their on-field time together.
Right.
Something as a little dangle from your book, The Umpire is Out. Who is the player, or perhaps a manager, that you had dealings with that could get a little heated over the course of your 33 years in Major League Baseball?
Well, there's a few. I think I had 91 ejections, or 92. Actually, Retrosheet, I during my research, I found that I think 3 ejections that they didn't have for various reasons, and so I brought that to their attention, and they're going to correct that on there. So, Cito Gaston was the manager of Toronto, and they had a back-to-back World Series in the 90s. Obviously, very good teams, but for some reason, Cito and I could not agree If today's Wednesday, he would say it's Thursday. You know, if I said it's a day game, well, no, it's a night game. I mean, we just couldn't get on the same page. I think I only ejected him 3 times, but we had many run-ins. The one that I write about that you know is prevalent is in Texas. I got him. He went to the mound to talk to his pitcher. And, you know, he's waiting for me. So let's get this over with. I came out there. He's started talking about balls and strikes. I said, Cito, we're not going to do that. You know that. And he said, the heck we aren't, and blah, blah, blah. I eject him. And he said, well, that's it. He goes, I am so sick and tired of this, Dale. I said, let's, you know, finish this once and for all. After this game, meet me outside the stadium and we'll take care of this. And at the time, Dr. Bobby Brown was the American League president. That's who, you know, you write the reports to. That's who does the fines and all that. And I said, well, Dr. Brown's really going to be happy that you're threatening his umpires. And he said, F Dr. Brown. I said, well, he's going to be real happy with that too, because that was right in the report, you know. So, you know, so Cito was one of them. You know, I ran Tony La Russa like 3 times. Tony's an intense competitor. You see Tony off the field, you know, pretty mild mannered, soft spoken. You see him on the field and he is focused and you know, so I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's you know, we've had a few scrapes, but you know, I write in the book how Tom Kelly, the manager of Minnesota, who only got ejected 5 times in his managerial career, which is insane when, you know, he managed that many years, and so few ejections. Of course, I got him once. You know, but I'll tell you what, like I say in the book, you know, if every manager was like Tom Kelly, this would be a lot easier job to do, because he was very professional in everything he did. So, you know, there's a few, and then there's players, of course, Tony Phillips, I was referencing earlier, you know, George Bell of the Blue Jays, never really took a pitch that was, you know, not a strike. I mean, or a strike. I mean, if you didn't swing the bat, apparently it's a ball. I didn't get the memo. I didn't know that, but apparently that's how that worked. But yeah, over the course of 30 plus years, you have some run-ins, and they're not all ejections, but you know, you have some pretty colorful run-ins.
And of course, the personal side of the book, Dale. I mean, some of the longer excerpts that I've had the pleasure to read, along with listening to some of your readings of excerpts from the book, which again, friends, you can find at umpiredalescott.com. Detail rather the personal side of your life. And it kind of brought to mind a phrase from me, Dale: just because you're not paranoid doesn't mean they aren't following you. And reading about some of the steps that you felt the need to take with, I believe, your partner at the time, before he was your husband, while you two were traveling together on the road, it made me laugh. And I don't think the intent was necessarily to be comical, but you felt the need to take some pretty intense steps to cover up the fact that you were gay while you were working on the road.
Yeah. And, you know, you look back now and you do kind of laugh because it was so stupid. But it was a little demeaning too. And that's why we decided not to do a lot of travel during the season, just because I'm early in my career, because it just, I didn't want to do that. Yeah. We would take separate elevators, or first of all, some context, the umpires all stayed at the same hotel.
Okay.
So I'm there with my crew, plus almost every crew that came into that, like Chicago, I'm thinking about, came into the city, stayed at the same hotel. So we knew kind of some of the staff at the hotel, front desk people, and, whatever, because we just, every year we're doing this. And so I didn't want to run into one of my partners with Mike, just the fact that, oh, this is Mike, he's from Portland. I just didn't want to explain why, who this person was. And I just was trying to keep it all on the down low, as they say. And so, separate elevators and different parts of the lobby. And I look back now and it's, it's like ridiculous. The one, I'm talking about, we get room service, and they'd come and Mike would be in the bathroom, because there's one bed in the room and two guys. And like I said, we know some of the staff, and, you're not sure who's going to be, whatever, but they put the food down and everything. He leaves. So Mike comes out, we pour the wine, we're starting to eat, and there's a knock. And it's room service again. They forgot the rolls, right? So Mike gets up, goes to the bathroom. I open the door. Guy comes in. Now it's obvious that we've started eating. The wine's poured and all that stuff. He sets it down. He just kind of looks at me like, it would just this like strange, like what's going on here, that type look. And he leaves, and Mike comes back out, and we just, we started laughing like how ridiculous this whole charade was. But I also said, I mean, Mike understood, and he understood the dynamics of what was going on. But I just felt like we were cheapening us as humans, as people, and certainly as a couple. And I just didn't like that. So I was going to take a stand by goodness. I'm never going to do that again. Well, basically what I did is just Mike didn't come on the road for a while. So, so that's how I handled that. But yeah, I was fearful of baseball finding out that I was gay, because I when in the minor leagues, I was fearful because I didn't, I was afraid I wouldn't get promoted. I would never even sniff the big leagues. Plus, my first professional game was 2 weeks after this strange cancer was affecting young men in San Francisco and New York, which was, of course, the start of the AIDS epidemic. And so now, not only was I concerned about if they found out I was gay, I wouldn't advance, I was concerned that there wouldn't be anybody who would even want to work with me, because in the minor leagues, you're driving, you're together all the time, sharing a hotel room, driving miles and miles after games to the next destination. Obviously the locker room, there was a lot of fear with the AIDS epidemic early. Didn't know how it would spread, wasn't sure what it was all about. And, it was a real possibility in my mind that nobody would want to work with me. So I had a lot of stuff going on in the 80s and early 90s when I was in the minor leagues and got promoted. So that's why I was so, paranoid.
Speaking of your colleagues, your coworkers in blue, reading an excerpt of some of these exchanges, this is what really has me hooked and enthused to read the book, The Umpire is Out, this summer, is when you write about the fact that your longtime fellow umpires basically approached you,
Right.
is what I gathered from that excerpt, and just kind of laid it out for you, like, Dale, we know you're gay. Like,
Right.
that's totally cool with us.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing. If you can revisit that for just a moment. I mean, that was so compelling to me, reading those couple paragraphs of how your friends and your coworkers just finally approached you like that.
Right. Well, I guess I'm not as good an actor as I thought I was. I thought I was really pulling this thing off, but apparently, when you're almost 40 years old and have a roommate, the same roommate, and the same roommate that in the off season you go to Australia with, or I was, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out. Anyway, but I had Daryl Cousins was the first umpire to do that in spring training, like in 98, 99, just out of the blue. And I were talking, and he said, he goes, Dale, I know you got a different lifestyle than most of us. I just want you to know that I don't care. I will walk on the field with you at, any time. You're a good umpire. You're a great guy. And I just want you to know it doesn't matter. And of course, my defenses went up because that's what I did for years. And I didn't really affirm what he said or deny. I just said, thanks, Daryl. I appreciate that, and moved on. But it started, I started figuring out that, obviously, maybe I'm not as stealth as I had thought. Rick Reed did the same thing, and it wasn't choreographed. I mean, this was just kind of generic, or is that the right word? It just started on its own.
Kind of happened.
Thank you. So, that brought us into the 2000s, and I became a crew chief, and my first full crew in 2002. Early in the season, having a crew dinner, just said, Ron Culpa, who, he just, hey, listen, let's get rid of the elephant in the room. Chief, we know you're gay. Let's just bring it out, because I want to, bust balls and have a lot of fun during the season. I don't want to be acting. None of us want to be acting like we're on eggshells, and I really appreciated that, because by that time, I was, well, first of all, I'd been in the league, 15 or so years. So I was established. I was now a crew chief, and it was okay. So, the thing is, I was closeted in baseball, but I wasn't a closeted gay man. Back home in Portland in the off season, I had friends and this and that. It wasn't, I came out to my mom knew in the 80s, and I came out to my dad, and about 1990. But and my brother knew it, so it wasn't like I was just always in a closet. But I certainly was in my baseball life because of the reasons I had talked about.
Friends, you're tuning into episode 53 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. Longtime former MLB umpire Dale Scott is part-time resident. He is my guest talking about his new book, The Umpire is Out. You can find that wherever books are sold, or I encourage you to go to umpiredalescott.com, where you can get the book, also read and listen to some excerpts. Still want to talk a little baseball. I got one more for you, Dale, on the social aspect. This might be too far afield, man. These are my words, obviously not yours. I am troubled by what we're seeing across the country. I count 15 states now with transgender sports laws. Big shocker. These states are all led by Republican governors. It's bothersome to me. I guess in some respect, from a competitive vantage, I see where people promoting this law and attempting to pass this law. There's a lot going on in the legal system right now that doesn't have this enacted in all 15 of these states. But I find it troubling. I know that you've had a lot of people come to you and thank you for your story, and you've inspired people. You've inspired other umpires. I mean, people in your profession just to go out and be able to live their lives and do their jobs. Do you feel like your book could potentially speak to what we're seeing going on right now with, I can call it controversy in transgender sports across our country?
Well, I would hope. I don't know if it will, but I certainly would hope. We have right now we're going through kind of an ugly time in politics, in my view, and a lot of false information, a lot of red meat to certain constituencies that just simply isn't true. And I, what's really disappointing is that even if you present facts or studies or whatever, if it's not fitting their narrative, then it's fake. It's just that's a bad source, or that's just made up, or they just won't believe truth, facts. It's really tough to have a debate when we can't even, first of all, before the debate starts, agree on what day to debate. It's or Wednesday, Thursday. It's kind of like with me and Cito. I mean, it's you can't get on the same page. But and how convenient is it, quite frankly, Judd, when you bring up something, they say, well, that's just fake news. So now we don't even have to talk about it because it's fake. So it didn't happen. And it's like, your head explodes. I don't know if my book will, be a positive agent for change. And as we go forward, I do truly hope, I'd love it if it was. And I do truly hope that, frankly, we can kind of come to our senses a little bit in this country and maybe rein in some of this stuff and start talking to each other a little bit about things that are going on, and not just assume and tribalism and just go to our sides and not even have a debate. I mean, come on, how do you run a country when in Congress you don't even, negotiation's a dirty word, and you can't even talk to, if you talk to a senator from the other side of the aisle, all of a sudden you're banished from the party. It's like, how dare you? It's ridiculous.
Well, we're just toeing the water with that. This isn't a political show, but it is a sport
right.
And
I'm sorry, I got off on
No, I like to talk about these style matters, and we could do an entire show about that. I didn't want to get too far. I wanted your learned opinion on that, and I appreciate it. Could have easily just shied away from that one.
My mouth gets myself in trouble sometimes. I miss that.
Let's take it back to the diamond. Were you concerned potentially that an extended lockout in Major League Baseball? Obviously, we got the season started late this year. We're now full steam. That could have affected the timing of your book release?
At first I thought maybe it would be a detriment. Actually, my publicist said, actually, you could maybe work, this is before it was settled. He goes, maybe this would work out to our advantage. If there's, maybe this will be something that if baseball wasn't being played, somebody, people might say that are craving baseball might crave some stories, and non-business baseball, which unfortunately it is a business and it raises its ugly head every once in a while. But I'm glad they're back on the field. I'm glad they're going to work, play a full season. I'm glad we got through that again. I've been through some negotiations on the umpire side. We were locked out in '95. That wasn't fun. We've had some last minute negotiations that finally got approval right at the last minute. You're in a lot of uncertainty, so it's not, fans don't want to hear this. That's not why they watch baseball and our baseball fans. And I realized during our negotiation stuff, we don't get a lot of sympathy, and nor should we. I mean, it's our own little bubble that we're trying to deal with. But hopefully we'll have some non-strike. We went many years after the '94 strike from having, there was some contentious times, but we never had any stoppages. So hopefully we can start a new streak.
Talks, and there will ultimately be some impending votes about rule changes in baseball that could be pretty dramatic. Baseball was seemingly protected from change for a long time, better part of a century. But now, whether it be millennials, whether it be attention spans, whether it be the enhanced popularity of competing sports leagues, you worried about baseball, Dale?
Well, yeah, I am. I think it's all those things. I think it is. You've got a whole generation that has a different attention span. I'm not knocking. I'm just saying that's reality.
The reality.
Yeah, and baseball. If you're, baseball can seem boring if you don't understand the game and the strategies. And then, baseball itself, we're doing, strikeouts and home runs. That's basically what we're doing. I mean, how many times do you see moving a runner line? How many times do you see you're manufacturing a run? How many times, stealing bases or sacrifice bunts or, those types of things that are the beauty of the game, but are almost forgotten arts. I mean, we need launch, level or whatever. Whatever it is, It's a home run. We want home runs or strikeouts. That's what this is happening in baseball right now, and it's just not. It's not good for anybody. I mean, it certainly doesn't keep the attention of the fans. But look at the players themselves, infielders. If the ball's not being hit and things aren't happening, they get back on their heels, and nobody wants to go to a game. It's like when a pitcher's struggling, going ball one, ball two, ball three, and not swinging the bat, nothing's happening. Ball four. I mean, that's not a fun game to watch. You want people swinging the bat. You want pitchers throwing strikes. You want runners running around and fielders fielding, baseballs and action. So I applaud baseball taking an overall look at everything and trying to piece together something that might stimulate a shorter game, a pace of game that is much better. And some of these potential rules on surface may not look good, or you may not like them, but let's give it a shot just to see what's happening. And hopefully we can get the pace a little bit going. We can get more action in the game and try to because the older fans are like me are getting older, and you've got to refresh the game to make sure you keep your a fan base that's intensely interested in watching and following baseball.
Speaking of going to ballparks, I'll wrap up with this one, Dale. I know that for May, headed into June, you're going to be doing some cool stuff at Major League ballparks. And also, I guess I'll just kind of dangle Cooperstown. Sounds like you'll be there next month. Is all this for the Umpire is out, or you'll be there for other purposes too?
Well, no, it's a part of this promoting the book. UmpireDaleScott.com. I will update the event, my schedule and the events once I get confirmed. I'm scheduled for 8 Major League Baseball Pride Nights throughout the country. Only 2 have been confirmed in May in San Diego, and then June 30th in Seattle. But I've got a bunch of others that are potential. Once they get confirmed, that'll be on the website. But Cooperstown is confirmed. That is May 17th. I'm very excited about that just from the fact I've never been there. And so I get a private tour of the Hall of Fame, and then at 2:00 Eastern on the 17th, we'll do a live event, interview about the concerning the book, and talking the people. Anybody that happens to be at the hall can certainly sit in. It will be streamed live, and then it's on their website or whatever, so you could be accessed at any time. And so that's on the 17th of May, and I'm very excited about that. And then then I've got, when I'm in some of these cities for the Pride Nights, we're setting up book signings at local bookstores, and hopefully setting up maybe some live interviews or some local interviews with radio and television outlets there. So lots going on, a lot of things happening. I will keep the website updated once things are confirmed, and be able to let everybody know, kind of the tour. And if you're in that area, and if you've bought the book and want it signed, that's where you can do it. I also, for those that for cities I'm not going to, or for those that can't make it, in a couple of weeks on the site, I will have instructions and a mailing address where you can send the book to get signed, and I'll send it back. So a lot of stuff going on. Pretty excited about it. The next couple of months they're going to be pretty busy.
Friends, again, you can visit that website at umpiredalescott.com. You can go there to buy Dale's new book, The Umpire is Out, written with Rob Nyer. You can also read or listen to excerpts from the book. And as Dale just mentioned, you can follow his stops along the summer tour. Appreciate your time, my friend. It's been a spell. Great to revisit. And best of luck with moving the book.
Well, I thank you. Thanks again for inviting me. It's always fun to chat. And, anytime, let me know. We'll have another one.
Thanks, Dale.